my name's Connor Czora, and I'm a professional potter, and I'm going to show you the basics of making a bowl today. I'm using a couple of different tools at my station today. One is called a wooden rib tool, or a wooden kidney if you're British. I have a needle tool, or a pin tool here, a wire tool, a little chamois that helps me keep the rim of the piece nice and tidy, a little bit of water, and then just a small sponge to get started. All right, so I'm starting with my clay. I'm working with porcelain today, that's why it's white. It's placed on the wheel, and I start just by making sure it's really stuck down on the head of the wheel so that it's not flying off and killing anybody. You know, you don't want that when you're throwing. And this first process I'm going to do is called centering. So the idea is that I want to keep this porcelain placed evenly in the center of the wheel so that as I'm doing all of my motions, I'm creating a nice symmetrical piece. To do this, I'm going to get the piece nice and wet. I'm keeping my elbows nice and grounded into my torso, and I'm going to lean into the clay with the heel of my left hand and the bottom side of my right hand. Working my way from the top to the bottom. And the idea here is that we can save some strain on our wrists. And I look for a sort of hockey puck shape. Once I've got my hockey puck, the next step I want to do is defining the interior shape of the clay. So I let my left hand hang out on the wheel where it was before. I brace my right hand against it for support, and I'm going to use whatever finger I'd like to press down in the center of the clay to start defining that interior shape. I'm grabbing more water anytime the clay feels like it's tugging on my skin at all. It's very important that we've got a nice fluid motion from the piece as it spins. I press until there's about a 1/4 inch of clay in between my fingertip and the surface of the bat, or the little tray that I'm working on. And from here, I'm going to start drawing my fingers back towards me, tracing the shape of a bowl. So I want a nice smooth curve from the center, moving towards the lip of the piece, with no real stopping point. And from here, I can move into pulling the walls, which is the fun TikTokable, Instagram Reels-able part of the process. I'm holding a half-soaked sponge in my right hand, which will be positioned on the outside of the piece, and my left hand is nice and wet, positioned on the inside. And I'm going to press my fingertips together like tongs, gradually moving them up the outside. And when I get to the top, I'm going to fold my sponge into a nice U shape, and I'm going to compress the rim of the piece to make sure that stays nice and dense. Alright, so I'm going to use my wooden rib tool to compress the inside of the bowl, and then maybe I'll add a little flourish at the top, a little ruffle, just for fun. I'm gonna finish up here, get the rim nice and wet. Once I've finished, I like to grab my wire tool, press it flush against the bat, and pull it straight back towards me. And from this point, I could lift up either the bowl or the tray that I'm working on. I can also cut the piece in half and look at the walls. Ideally, I want to see as even a thickness from the bottom of the piece up through the top of the piece as possible. My name is Connor Czora, and thank you for joining me to throw a bowl on the pottery wheel.